Welcome to your first career session. I'm Jenny Butter and I oversee careers here at Love Circular. And I have spent the past 12 years helping people find and obtain right fit jobs. This is the first of two sessions that you'll be receiving on Career to give you the tools and confidence that you need to make your job search successful. At Love Circular, our aim is for you to become job ready, and this means providing you with the professional skills that you need, as well as the tools and confidence necessary so you can land a role of choice. I've put together a careers course which shares best practices on all job search activity. There are modules on topics such as CV and cover letter best practice with templates, creating a LinkedIn profile to get you noticed, interviewing, networking, negotiating salary and contracts, setting up as a freelancer, and social media presence. I recommend that you work your way through them all and then join me as part of the regular careers live sessions to ask any questions. And there are also regular sessions with industry experts you can join and ask them questions and get seen and known by hiring managers to learn more about your industry of choice. In today's session, we're going to be covering your personal branding statement, how to communicate who you are, that's your unique selling point and your career change to different audiences, and how to find a right job. We're looking at job application strategy and at your CV. And then in the second session, we're going to be covering confidence to break out of comfort zones, networking, goal setting when it comes to job search, and how to keep the momentum up. So firstly, what is a personal brand? When it comes to careers, in my mind, it's your conscious and intentional effort to position yourself as an authority in your industry and doing this in a way that elevates your credibility to advance your career. And I personally believe that all job search must start with your own personal branding. Because until you know who you are, what you want and what you offer, it's going to be really hard for you to communicate that to others in a way that's going to get you noticed. Hiring managers just won't know what you stand for. So let's look at two people in the media who have personal brands. One is Positive, Marcus Rashford. The next one is a bit like Marmite. So Marcus Rashford, a Manchester United player from the age of 7, the youngest English player to score in his first senior international match. He is a campaigner against racism, homelessness, and child hunger in the United Kingdom. And he has been appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire and MBE. I would say that people know what he stands for. His personal branding is solid and it appears to be in integrity. And he's good at what he does, and people know that of him. So what themes or associations do we think about when we look at Boris Johnson? Because he used to be a master of personal branding. It used to be that no matter what he said and did, the country loved him. But since then, he has lost leadership of the country, and a lot of people have started disliking him. So arguably, it started with Brexit, when it said on the side of buses that money from Brexit would go to fund the NHS. And then there was a bit of discontent when that didn't happen. The scandal, though, that really put his perception in a bad light was the Partygate scandal, when people weren't able to visit dying relatives during lockdown, during COVID, yet him and his ministers had parties in the garden. And he's never hidden his background. He doesn't try to hide his privileged background. But some people feel that because of that, perhaps he isn't in reality with what it is like to live in the UK for the majority of the population. And so that's why, on one level, people started disliking him and he lost his leadership of the United Kingdom because what he said in public wasn't backed up in integrity. And so that's why I think to be successful in your job search, you need to manage how you are perceived and to be able to communicate who you are with integrity. Your personal brand needs to be consciously prepared and actively managed. And you may think, why? I'm not Boris Johnson. But actually, almost all employers, that's 98%, do background checks and research about candidates online, and 79% have turned down an applicant based on their social media profiles. Depending on your privacy settings, at the click of a button, your whole life may be able to be viewed by strangers. And the manifest found that most HR professionals, that are 79%, have turned down an applicant based on a social media profile. And reasons they said included poor grammar, hate speech, sensitive content about a former employer, or illicit content being shared. And so with this statistic in mind, before applying for any position, it's vital that you Google yourself to see what others can see about what you've been saying and doing. Now, to manage this or to mitigate it, some people choose to have 2 accounts on the same social media platform. One is set to private, it doesn't necessarily have a photo of them, and that's used for personal use only. The other is public and does have a photo or an avatar, and that's what they use to build a professional following. So where do you start communicating who you are and what you want others to know about yourself? A personal branding statement or a tagline when it comes to job search can be used to form LinkedIn and CV profile summaries, cover letters, or introductory emails. And I'm going to look more in depth about this in a minute. Elevator pitches. An elevator pitch is what you say about yourself to a stranger to get them interested in carrying on the conversation. The idea is if that you are standing in a lift, you only have a very short amount of time to say what's needed before you reach the next floor. And this focus helps you convey the most important information. And you use your elevator pitch when you call recruiters or hiring managers and where you network. And it's around 30 to 60 seconds in length. It's simple and it's focused. You also may have your personal branding statements on a portfolio website. It's also in an up-to-date CV, and you can get tips on how to create one, which will get you noticed in the careers course. But also I will be talking a bit more about that later on in this session. Then there's professional bios, and your bio can be found on the About Us section of a workplace website, or perhaps in your portfolio section. It's also often on social media pages, at the bottom of a blog or an article, or a host may use it to introduce you before you give a presentation or a webinar. When writing a bio, think who the target audience is, because this will guide the tone, the length, and the content. For example, your Twitter bio will need to be shorter and take a different tone to the bio on a company website. Now, that having been said, despite the audience, the content must be consistent and include your personal branding statement or tagline. When it comes to tone, if you need to appear objective, then write it in the third person. Jenny Butter is. As a rule, you use a third person on a business website, at the end of an article you've written, or when somebody is speaking on your behalf. And career best practice is that your CV is always objective third person as well, because it's looking at yourself objectively. It's not your own opinion of yourself. So it doesn't have I or I am in a CV. A first person I am is more personal, and so it's therefore generally used for social media profiles and private blogs. Now, contact information. This may seem bizarre, but according to Collingwood Search, 76% of CVs are ignored if an email address is unprofessional. Whilst a silly or satirical email address may seem funny to you, it doesn't always portray you in the best light. I genuinely once had a client whose email address on her CV was similar to Sexy Lady At. She was going for a management position in an e-commerce firm, and it might not have been the best email address to show that she was a professional in her field of design. And so if you're branding yourself as a workplace professional, then your contact information needs to be in keeping with your brand and your image. It's really easy to create a new email account with a host of providers, and best practice is that it contains your name. And added to this point, please make sure that all the names you use across all platforms are consistent. The reason I say this is that I frequently review CVs for people, but their LinkedIn profile has a slightly different name, and then the name they join with on Zoom is different again. It has to match or it can be really confusing. If a hiring manager sees 3 different names for you, they may think, is this the same candidate? Are they trying to pass off somebody else's work as their own? Or they may think that you haven't turned up for an interview. Please make sure that they match. This is a personal branding statement. Just have a look at it for a moment. A personal branding statement isn't a sales pitch. It's a way of telling another person about yourself that gets them interested. It defines your story and is around 3 sentences in length. A thesaurus can help you find words that help accurately describe your personality, your behavior, your talents, your gifts, and your strengths. And ideally, personal branding statements should cover what you do, that's what you're gifted at, or what you enjoy at work, how you do it, why you do it, or who you do it for. And it tells your story. And if you are a career changer, you can also use it to talk about your transferable skills. So have a look at this career change personal branding statement example. And when you have created your branding statement, it is best practice to take one sentence from it and use it as a tagline. So have a look at it and then highlight some key things that you want to bring in, then write it up into one sentence. And this sentence can be used in all job search marketing material, including your portfolio, your LinkedIn profile, your Twitter bio, your Instagram bio, your CV, and your elevator pitch. So to work out your brand, you need to ask yourself these questions, then come up with a 2 to 3 line branding statement. What do you do? How you do it? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? Why are you good at it? What difference do you make? What do you enjoy? And a really big tip is, why should your listener care? Then when you have done your branding statement, please join me in a careers clinic so I can review that for you and help you refine it so you can own it, then put it across all of your job search activity. Moving on now. I am a full believer in finding a right fit job. If you've gone to the effort of retraining, then it's important that what happens next is more than just getting a job. It has to be the right job for you in your current season of life. And so you need to take time to think and research what it is that you actually want to need before you start applying. Are you aware of your salary needs? If not, do a budget and allow for wiggle room as prices continue to rise. And location, how long do you want your commute to be? Or do you want hybrid or remote working? Are you willing to relocate? What hours do you want to need? And this is linked to life balance. Do you need flexible hours? Do you need to be able to drop a child at school, for example? And what type of company excites you? What do you want to be doing? Who do you want to be working for? Do you want to be helping a business make profit, or do you want to be changing the world with what you do? And then think about the motivation. Do you want to be doing the tasks that it's asking of you? Or do you want to have a broader remit where you get to do everything, or more of a niche, for example? So let's look now about the different opportunities that are available. Permanent roles are classed as active opportunities because they often mean a company is actively hiring or open to a new member of the team. And as a junior full stack software engineer entering into the job market for the first time, permanent roles are a good pathway for you because it means that employment is indefinite and you'll have a steady income without having to work about where your next paycheck may come from. And permanent jobs often have the plans are a part of the deal when you take this type of role. So have a look at some of the pros and cons on this slide. A couple to highlight: often in a permanent job, you understand the work expectations and you do get paid time off. And you might actually receive employer incentives and benefits as well. When it comes to cons, you do have flexibility over your work hours. You might not get to choose your work. And you might have less freedom to decide your own schedule. So let's move on now and have a look at contract roles. Now, contract roles are also classed as active opportunities because it means a company has an immediate demand for additional staff, often due to the fact that an organisation is launching a new service, or it might be project-based work. This is not a recommended pathway for somebody at the beginning of a new career because often high expectations are placed upon contractors with very little guidance provided. It may be something to aspire to because on the flip side, the earning potential can be really substantial. So let's look at some pros and cons for you to aspire to as you go through your career. As well as the ones listed on the slide, you have the ability to test out a company and to try many different companies. You need to learn additional skills quickly so you can keep doing the job, so you need to keep upskilling. And then a con, as well as the ones listed on the slide, you may have financial difficulties because you have to keep applying for work, often against a pool of other candidates, and you might not get selected. Now, freelance work can actually be active and passive because sometimes you pitch for work, but quite often you have to go out and find it. Freelance jobs do offer independence because ultimately you are your own boss. And it opens up the opportunity to work on a variety of projects and topics. And so you have freedom over clients and you have freedom over your workload. If you want to work, say, full-time most of the year and then take part-time and only do part-time hours during the summer, you do have the flexibility and control to make that happen as a freelancer. But that having been said, you have to pay your own taxes and national insurance, and you have to find the work. It doesn't just fall into your lap. In time, you may get word of mouth work, but initially, it does take time to go out and pitch for work and to build up that contacts, to build up all of those contacts. And so you need to be clear on what you can offer. You need to know your day rate, and you need to know what type of clients you want to work for. Have a look at the module in the careers course to learn how to set yourself up as a freelancer. Some people do choose to set themselves up as freelancers just to get a bit of work experience on their CV before they apply for permanent positions, but it's your career, so it's up to you to decide what is right for you. So where can you start looking at active openings to see if they're right for you? Well, job descriptions are the first step. Look at the company. Are they a fit for you? Does what they do matter to you? It has to be a two-way process. Some job descriptions are in depth. If they're in-house company roles, you can see what the company stands for, but yet others don't have that much to go on, such as this one on that slide, especially if they're via a recruiter. So try and Google and see if you can figure out who the company is, or you can ask the recruiter and see if they'll tell you. Sometimes a recruiter may not say, they might just say what the industry is in. And so then you can decide if you want to work for that industry. And then if you get shortlisted for an interview, you will then find out who the company is. And then at that point, you can find out more about them yourself in your own research and decide if you want to work for them. Go through the role requirements. Do you actually want to be doing it? And then look actually the specification requirements. Can you do it? In the UK, if you can do about 70% of a role, it is usually okay to apply. But there is a caveat within that. If there is a key skill or competency that's needed for the job that you don't have, well, then it is unlikely you will be shortlisted for it. So it might be, for example, they're looking for somebody that does a different programming language to you. If you can't do that, but you can do the rest of it, it is unlikely that you will be shortlisted. So the 70% is realistic. Can you do realistically most of what they are looking for? Arguably, men are better at applying for jobs that they are less experienced for than women, but do have a look at that objectively. And then think, does your personality fit? Different jobs require different personality matches, and it's important to think about actually, am I what they're looking for? Because it's soft skills as well. So this one wants somebody with a startup mentality to get things up and running quickly. Are you quick moving? Do you take initiative? Are you autonomous? If you are, this would be right for you. If it's somebody that wants structure or wants feedback or wants guidance, this would not be a right personality fit match for you. And so that's why it's important to be mindful of job descriptions. A red flag or a place where you're going to thrive. Have a look at the wording used and think, am I that person? So here's a bit of guidelines. If it says lack of compensation or competitive salary, don't discount applying for it, because you can ask in the job description what the salary expectations or what the salary band is. And they're also likely to ask you what your salary expectations are. Have an answer for this. Give a range and say you are happy to negotiate on your job offer. In the careers course, I have prepared content on this with salary calculators to help you feel more comfortable. Then have a look. Does the job advert have a long list of unrealistic roles and responsibilities? If so, it could suggest that the employer is stretching one role into many, or they're not potentially clear about the role. And you can seek clarification about what roles and priorities are when speaking with hiring managers at an interview. When terminology like self-start is introduced, it may suggest a completely hands-off approach from the employer, potentially suggesting that there is little time for support and additional learning and development. And so you may want to clarify what this means in an interview. As I mentioned before, it may suit some personalities very well and is quite common in startup environments. Personally, I thrive in environments like this, but other people may prefer to work somewhere with more structure and career development opportunities, especially as a career changer at the start of your career. And when terminology like fast-paced environment is used, it may mean that you may have to get used to plans and direction changing at a quick pace. Once again, great for some personalities, but not for others. So, advice going forward. Conduct your own due diligence on a company. Understand the organization, the business, and what other employees have to say about the organization. You can use websites like Glassdoor or simple Google search on them to see if any news stories or articles have surfaced about them that may affect you. Or you can look at Trustpilot. A couple of years ago, I applied for a consultancy role at a company that seemed to be a perfect fit. I got selected, but it was only at that point I did my due diligence. I should have known better. Trustpilot said that their product was a con and they promised things that they didn't deliver. Being a self-employed consultant, I absolutely did not want my name associated with them. And so I wrote an email to withdraw my application. Understand the business as best you can. The more you can understand a business and the organization, the better equipped you will be if you are invited back for an interview and to decide if it is a right job for you. And so with that in mind, try and connect with key stakeholders of the business on LinkedIn. It's useful to get a feel for an organization and to understand how you can influence the role on some level. And you can search for an organization on LinkedIn and search for people within the team and connect with them on all different levels. Please make sure that you keep the job description. Keep a screenshot of it, download it, or print it out. Because quite often jobs are taken down after the deadline closes. And if you're invited for an interview, you need to be able to refer back to it to make sure that you prepare to show how you fit that particular role. When you've applied for so many, you can forget or it can get confusing. So make sure you are able to refer back to it. And finally, when scanning job descriptions, think about the following. Does the ad match the job role or the title? Sometimes you might see junior roles, but actually the role requirements are more of that of a senior. Look at the compensation package. Is it fair? And then think, does this align with the type of role I want to have, what they're asking you to do? Do you feel well informed enough about it to apply for it? If not, who do you need to ask to get more information? When's the deadline for the job? It's already out of date. And please think about the company. Does this company brand align with my values? Some people have companies they refuse to work for ethical reasons. For example, I worked with a lady who said that a gambling or a tobacco company was a no-go for her. Think, does the work and organisation excite me? And do I have the competencies for the role? If you only have some of the competencies, you can do a skills gap analysis to see what you can do to bridge the gap, and if it's enough to be shortlisted. So where can you find both open and hidden roles? Open roles can be found on job search boards, via recruiters, and with target company lists. You can create a list of companies you want to work for and approach them directly. But actually, target companies can also be a way to find hidden jobs, also networking, and also being present and seen on social media. Today, we're looking at open opportunities, and in the next session, we're looking at hidden opportunities. So in the careers course, I have a job board section that you can look at where you can get openings emailed to your inbox by signing up on the job search boards. I also have a list of recruiters. Now, do bear in mind that recruiters are measured by targets, KPIs and commission, and they get paid if one of the candidates gets hired. And so always be very clear in your outreach to recruiters in what you're looking for. They're the go-between between you and a company. So try and foster good relationships with them so you can keep going back to them as you progress through your career. So when I say be clear about what you're looking for, be clear about the type of role, the location and the salary. If they put you forward for a role and you turn it down because you weren't honest about what you wanted, then they won't work with you again because they're going to miss out their commission. Remember that they have the power to reject you, but not to hire you. It is up to you to chase them, to ring them and to email them and to get them to choose you to be shortlisted. So once again, make sure that you're communicating to them what they need to hear about you to make sure that you are a viable candidate in the eyes of the person that's hiring. What you can do is create a skills cheat sheet. There is one in the careers module. And so you have the key points in front of you of the projects that you have done, both hard and soft skills. Recruiters in the UK are known for ghosting you. They just don't get back to you. If that does happen, please don't take that personally. It is just something that happens. Sometimes recruitment agencies aren't specialists in the field. In the careers course, I have put a list of some specialist recruiters for your profession. Sometimes they'll give you feedback and sometimes that they won't. And sometimes they may not have all the details of a position, only what the company has provided them with. But it is within your rights to ask them to find out more information and see if they can get that from you, from the company. So target company lists. If you have a clear idea of what you want company-wise or where you want to work location-wise, then it can be a fruitful idea to create a target company list. And so you can find open jobs by signing up for job alerts on company websites and by following the company on social media. And actually, I might just mention hidden jobs with them quickly as well. With target companies, by showing proactivity, it can be a really good way to get known and remembered by hiring managers. During times of recession, companies are less likely to want to spend money advertising a role, and so they're going to be keener to find suitable candidates within their networks. And so while you may need to approach a lot of companies before getting a meeting, and then several meetings before receiving a job offer, it is arguably a more fruitful use of your time than applying lazily to oversubscribed advertised jobs. Like any role you apply for, you do need to follow the same strategy, one application well. So when it comes to any target company list, take the time to research the company and tailor what you can bring before you start any outreach. So let's look at CVs. Once you know where you want to apply and you have roles you want to apply for, obviously you then need to apply with a CV. A CV gets you an interview. It's a vital piece of the job search. First impressions count, and a CV is a good first impression. So your CV must communicate what you bring by what you write. So with this in mind, keep asking yourself, so what? Every line in a CV must answer the so what question. Design software solutions. So what? Give context. What was the problem? What did you do and what was the result? You collaborated on a project. So what? Who did you collaborate with? Why and how did you collaborate? And as a result of you working together, what did you achieve or what problem did you solve? In a CV, work experience must always come first, followed by your education. And you can write up previous work experiences by bringing in key transferable skills that are needed in your career change, such as problem solving, communication, listening, collaboration, analysis. So, for example, if you worked previously in customer service, you can say how you listened to companies and then communicated with them the actions that you're going to take to solve their problems. Please always make sure you do a grammar and a spelling check at the end. I've created a CV template that you can use, and you can access this in the CV module of the careers course. Create yourself an initial CV, but your CV must always be edited to match each role you apply for. If you don't do this, it's unlikely you will get shortlisted. Hiring managers spend 5 to 7 seconds glancing at CVs. They need to be able to see straight away that you have what they're looking for. So you need to go through job descriptions line by line and then use the same wording, bring that into your CV with examples of when you've done it. If you don't tell them, they don't know. And they don't have time to read between the lines to think, can this person do it or not? You have to be very clear. So let's recap what we've learned in this session. Your personal branding statement. You need to be able to communicate who you are, your unique selling point, and your personal brand and everything that you bring to different audiences consistently and with confidence. If you don't know who you are and what you bring, how can you convince a hiring manager what you can do? We looked at how to find a right fit job. It has to be right for you in your current season of life. Take time to look at companies and roles and what they want. Then match this to your own list of wants and needs. Have a diverse job application strategy and do one application well, editing your CV as you go along. And then in the next session, we're going to be covering getting yourself out there, networking, and job search goal setting. Enjoy the rest of your day.